Hi, my name is Vicki Fairchild. We've spent a lot of time talking about the feelings of grief and talking about how those interact in the IEP meeting. But I really want to talk more about the IEP meeting and how every part of the IEP meeting can be a trigger for those feelings of grief. It's really hard sometimes for professionals to get into the minds of parents, to really look at the IEP meeting from a parental perspective. But an IEP meeting can be pretty cold, pretty sterile, pretty analytical, pretty unfeeling. An IEP meeting can be so hard for parents. I've had parents talk about how they didn't sleep the night before. I had one parent mention having a tic every day, that she had to go to an IEP meeting. Some have talked about being physically ill as they thought about going to the IEP meeting. Just the thought of going to an IEP meeting caused emotional reactions with these people. Why? They're not crazy. They're amazing, often some of the most amazing people you will meet. And yet, they're having these intense feelings that are based in what? They're based in reality. These feelings are based in reality because IEP meetings are not fun. So what happens? Well, we always start out the IEP meeting, well, depending on which state you are in, with present levels. Now we have this nod to, oh, let's talk about the strengths for probably a minute if we give it that. And then we go straight into the present levels of the child. Now, often these present levels come across very negative. It's really hard. And they're just statistics over and over and over again, percentiles. And it just feels so sterile and cold, and this is my child. Why are you talking about my child this way? And we give age levels and grade levels and all these things that just don't feel human. They don't feel right when you're on the other side. And then we end all of these reports with telling how the child is eligible. This is sometimes the hardest thing. I've seen an eligibility criteria trigger parents so many times because sometimes they're asked to sign them, that they're in agreement. Or just even seeing this eligibility in print can bring on grief like you can't even imagine. Maybe you can, maybe you've seen it, and maybe you've experienced it. And after this, if you've survived this very sterile process of identifying your child as having a disability, then we bring out the goals. Oh, goals. Goals that are written in a way that no one understands them anymore. So why would a goal trigger grief? Well, sometimes it's during the goals when the parents see that year-long goal and they see that after that year, their child's still going to be behind. Their child's still not going to be caught up. That it hits them how significant the disability is. Sometimes just seeing those goals alerts them to the fact that they're going to be dealing with this for a long time. And sometimes it's when they grasp that this is something that's going to be going on the rest of their lives. While the goals are important, and the goals are how we are pushing the child forward, sometimes when the parent sees the yearly goals and sees how much work it's going to take to get so far, and sees how much time it's going to take to get that far, that is when they realize the significance of their child's disabilities. The technical report didn't make sense. The technical report didn't tell it to them, but the goal did. And that's why sometimes those goals can be the hardest thing to go through in the IEP. After we talk about goals, then comes the time where the school district presents the plan as to how they're going to provide services, accommodations, and modifications to help the child progress. This is when more grief feelings can come up. Because while the district may have done a great job at identifying where the child needs help, oftentimes they don't do as equally a good job to explain how they're going to deal with those deficits that they've just identified. This creates a lot of turmoil for the parents. We'll see parents get upset when we identify learning and reading issues or math issues that are significantly below grade level standard, and yet we offer twice a week for 30 minutes. This is when that blaming can happen as to what are you going to do? And we get arrested in this part of the IEP. We can't move forward. So while we have identified the needs that the child has, we haven't necessarily identified the way we're going to address that need. And that sends the parent into those feelings of helplessness, of hopelessness, of fear, of anger. Those come up all the time when we're talking about services, not on any fault of the parent, but because maybe we can't offer what matches the child's needs. The next area that is almost a sure trigger for parents is when a child is moving from one school to another. Parents often have an idea of where they think their child will be by kindergarten, by middle school, by high school, by college. And when these transitions happen from preschool to kindergarten, elementary to middle school, middle to high school, parents often have to confront some of their feelings of grief. This is when parents confront denial, when their child hasn't made the progress they thought they would. This is when parents confront sadness. This is when parents feel new loss. Transitions bring up new loss. I've heard parents say things like, I just thought my child would be further along by the time we got to high school. I just thought my child would be able to function in a regular kindergarten. Transitions are when parents experience new loss. And that is what makes the transition so difficult. The most important thing for professionals to remember is that these feelings are there. These feelings are okay. And that as the parents experience these feelings, to take time, not rush the IEP, and deal with these feelings. We can't stop them from coming. You can't stop them from coming. You are talking about their most precious asset. Their heart is outside of their body. Their heart is that child. And as they're dealing with the loss of the child they thought they had, and accepting the child they now have, the child they love, these feelings will come up. And these feelings are healthy. These feelings are hard, but they take a parent through the grief process to acceptance. And that's where we all want to go.